50s, hot rod was a dirty word, and it was short, so it made headlines.
Every time an old car was in a wreck, it was hot rod injures 3.
42 old women run down by hot rods.
We were bait for the police in a way in those days.
Street racing was a big thing. They'd hold 10 or 20 races, and as soon as the cops came, all the roadsters would take off through the bean fields, and the cops were driving old Nash bathtubs, and they couldn't catch them.
When you mention hot rod to someone, the car that comes to mind is a 32 Ford Highboy.
A lot of people probably consider it the most significant 32 Ford hot rod.
12 years old, that'd be 1933, we'd see in our neighborhood a little stripped down Model T. I said, boy, what could be more fun than to ride around a little homemade racing car like that? We just liked the freedom of the open air driving and playing like we have a racing car.
I think there was a camaraderie about hot rodders. It was all the common goal to have a nice car and a fast car.
They taught each other the tricks of this, what at the time they were called hop-ups or gow jobs.
A lot of the development came from just trying things, This was uncharted territory, so it was open for ingenuity.
They could make manifolds to put 2 carburetors on, and they learned how to grind camshafts with files. And we were to the point where, like in my hometown, somebody down the hill fired up his car. Your car should be personalized to make it different from any other. You don't want to copy somebody else's hot rod, even no matter how much you like it.
Some were greasy mechanic type guys, and some were neat guys that always had extra clean stuff. There was no money before the war. It was tough. We didn't know it was tough because we're used to that.
Guys went to go to the junkyard and they pick out what they could find.
The junkyards were full of many different makes at the time. You could buy a Model T in those days for $10 and get it running,
It started here in Southern California partly because of the abundance of roadsters here because of the good weather, and roadsters were the cheapest and lightest and most streamlined of all the cars.
They would get wet with an inch or 2 of water, and that would erase all the tire marks, and when it dried up, it'd be smooth again.
Muroc Dry Lake was actually the center of activity because you could take a car up there and go as fast as you wanted to go without traffic or people or anything else. El Mirage was the second best lake to Muroc, and they still run there today.
They'd have these meets up there, and you'd meet new guys and see new cars that you'd never get to see otherwise. You'd learn a lot.
You couldn't afford to have 2 cars, so you build your car to run up at the dry lakes, but it also had to come back and drive on the street.
There's no sponsorship to speak of, and there's no prize money whatsoever. So it's the purest form of hot rodding. When it first started, they would race 4 or 5 cars across the lake bed. Well, if you were first, it was okay, but if you were 5th, you had a hard time seeing where you were going.
So they had to stop that. That was getting too risky. Only the guy in front could see, and these guys are crazy, thinking that, don't worry, I'll pass them later.
So in 1937, the Southern California Timing Association was formed to give some regulation and some safety to that activity, and they went 1 car at a time.
This is legal hot rod racing. There is no speed limit here. The idea is to go as fast as you can against a common opponent, the clock.
They made rules and classes. It was to organize all these various clubs that were founding members. Roadrunners, bungholers.
The throttlers and the cam breakers, and these various clubs could join.
There was a lot of innovation. And then along came World War II.
On December 7th, 1941, Japan, like its infamous Axis partners, struck first and declared war afterward.
That kind of stopped hot rodding a little bit short.
Basically, all water racing was ceased in the United States.
So now all these fellas that used to race at the dry lakes usually worked with government equipment during the war and learned a lot more about engines and so forth.
Guys learned how to fabricate and weld.
During the war, they'd all have a picture of their girlfriend and a picture of their hot rod in their wallet, and they'd be talking about racing these things on the dry lakes and how much fun it was. The term hot rod did develop sometime during World War II, and nobody really knows exactly where it came from, when.
Wally Park said he first heard it in the Philippines. Another serviceman from up in San Luis Obispo used it. He had never heard it before.
When the war shifted from the European to the South Pacific, they all shipped through Long Beach, San Diego, and they'd see these roadsters bombing around on the streets. And the Army, the Navy, spread this word, And after the war, it just blossomed.
That was a great time to be in Los Angeles. They'd survived the war, they'd been in prison camps, they'd been shot at, had some extra money in their jeans, and they were happy to be home. That was the boom, and then dry lakes racing was huge.
The meets were so big up there that there'd be literally hundreds of cars and thousands of spectators.
It was booming. All these people had talent, needed a new hobby, and by God, this was it.
Yeah, that's Ralph Hudson.